What's up everybody, Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install these Raptor-Style grill lights on your Super Duty. A quick note before we get started, we're working on a 2020 Platinum truck here, so obviously that's the grill you're going to see in this install, but if you have a different trim level, the install process is still going to be essentially the exact same thing, so it doesn't matter if you have an XLT or a Lariat or whatever else it may be. And with that out of the way, let's get right into it. The first thing we need to do is go in and remove all these little plastic push pin clips that are securing this shroud over the top of the radiator and the grill. There's about 13 of them, so we're just going to use our pry tool, pop them all up from the center, and then pull the whole clip out. With all the clips removed, we can also pull off the snorkel here on the front of the intake air box, and you can just give it some pressure pulling up and it'll come right out, and then that's going to allow us to lift this whole shroud out of here. Next, go ahead and grab your ratchet with a 10mm socket, and we're going to remove these 6 screws going along the front side of the grill. Moving in closer, you can see we've got the front of the grill here and our passenger side headlight off to this side. And behind the light, there's actually a hidden 10mm nut here that is threaded into a stud holding the grill. So it helps if you grab a 1/4" drive ratchet with a little 10mm socket on there, and you can back this guy out. Do the same thing here on the driver's side. By this point, the instructions usually say that you can just pop the top part of the grill forward and slide your lights into place, but I find that it's a little bit easier and safer to not break plastic and bust things apart if you just remove the whole grill from the front, give you a little bit more room to work with. So we're going to move down to the bottom of the grill and remove the screws holding it over here, and then we can start to work this whole piece out. In between the bottom 2 slats of your grill, you're going to see a little plastic cap in here that's covering up another 10mm screw, and there's one on each side. So we're going to start on the passenger here and use a pry tool to pop this cap forward. Usually just want to work it into that gap and then push out. And you'll see it just kind of comes free. And inside of that is the screw we need to get to. So we've got a 10mm on an extension here to back that out. With the bottom 2 screws out of the way, we can pull the whole grill out from the front, and it's worth noting that when you pull it forward, you don't want to just yank the whole thing out violently. You do have wires here running to your camera and stuff up front, so we're going to pop this free, and there's a couple clips going around the grill, some sort of along the light as well, so you just want to work it as gently as you can to get it out, but it will take some force. Okay, there we go. Now that we've got the grill all loosened up, we're actually not going to remove the whole thing from the truck. We're just going to let it kind of sit here disconnected. But you do want to bring your Raptor lights into place, and we're going to set them across the top of where the shroud used to be for now. And the next thing is to run this wiring harness. It's a lot harder to run this after you have the lights mounted, so we're going to do it now preemptively. And what I like to do is kind of run it underneath this sort of bulkhead piece that goes across, and then kind of fish it over towards the headlight. You can see it comes out right about here, and then you can actually work it behind this little plastic bucket, and we're going to drop it straight down behind the light. Now, it's worth noting that as it goes down there, normally on trucks that are not LED headlights, you would want to tie this into the parking light, and it's a lot easier. On these trucks where it's all LEDs, it's super hard to tie these into those lights. And so what I like to do is run it down and connect it to the fog lights instead, and there's a pretty straight shot from here. With our wiring in place, we're going to grab the grill light assembly now, and we're going to slide this in behind the actual grill, just like that. And then I find it's easier to kind of slide your hands through underneath this top bar to hold it in place and help line it up. And the way you'll know it's lined up is obviously you'll have one light kind of in the center here, but these square cutouts for the grill assembly should line up with these oblong holes where those screws came out earlier to actually mount the grill to the truck. So once you have that in place, then just grab it from underneath, and we're gonna lift the grill back into position, and we can push it in and clip it down. So from here out, things are pretty simple. You'll just want to step back real quick, get a look at those grill lights, make sure everything is even and sitting the way you want it to. And then from there, we're going to just basically walk back on the same steps we did to remove the grill. So I'm going to add all the screws back in across the top. We'll put those screws and plastic caps in the bottom, make sure we get everything tucked in and nice and tight, and then we can throw our shroud on as well. And after we have all that locked in, then we'll work on the wiring down here at the fog lights and the wheel well. All right, so now we've moved into the passenger side wheel well, and you can see back here, our harness has made it all the way down. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna tie this into this fog light wiring that you see here that's now exposed, but if you have a truck with halogen headlights or you wanna make sure you tie it into your running lights, then you're gonna wire it a little differently than I'm showing here. It's just really hard to do that wiring on a truck that's all LED from factory, so we're gonna tie it in this way. Now, as you can see, this is exposed, but when you first get into your wheel well, you're gonna have a metal cover right here that has 4 screws holding it on. So you just wanna back those out. This cover will come off, and then you'll see that it's exposed. And then from up here, we can undo the connector at the bulb, and we're just gonna basically wanna tap into the power, mount our ground wire, and then plug in the weather sealed connectors that made up, and we should be good to go. So you saw there, I got our power wire tapped in with the provided wire tap in the kit, and I connected it to the brown wire, which is the power for the fog lights, and then reconnected the harness up here. So now we have the sealed end of the wiring harness for the Raptor lights, and we can plug that in. Just click these two together, make sure that gets a nice tight click. And then all we have left is our little ground wire here. It's got a ring connector, so we're gonna run it through a screw back here that connects to the bumper that I know is a solid ground. And once we have that done, then we can tie up the rest of this wiring and get it out of the way, and we'll be looking good. There you have it, guys. That's going to be a wrap on this install for those Raptor-style grill lights. I think they look really nice in here, and it's worth noting that they're available in amber and white, so depending on what option you want, you can check those out. We're going to have some links down in the description that you can click that are going to shoot you over to our website. As always, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time.